Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. We are back live on the Prospero.ai stock market live streams. Hope you all are having a great week since we last saw you Monday at 11 a.m. The markets are green across the board today. The VIX is in the red. The leading indice is back to being the Russell. We've been following that recently, how the Russell has been outperforming to the bullish direction. It also outperformed to the negative, to the downside yesterday. So maybe just a more volatile place to be, the small caps in the market today. But I'm about to run through the topics with you all. Welcome back. If you love the lives and you're excited for today, hit the like button if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube. You can repost the stream if you're watching on X, Twitter. So please do that if you love the lives. George is going to join me here in just a minute, but we're going to talk about, as we always do, the SPY QQQ net options sentiment to start the stream today. Some of the more macro stuff we're seeing with the data we've gotten from PPI, CPI. We got a headline today that Trump is considering firing Jerome Powell. That was instantly refuted, so you never know what to believe there. We had ASML making a big move to the downside today, forecasting some, I think, surprising lack of growth for their company. So, what does that mean for NVIDIA, AMD, other tech, chip companies if ASML can't confirm to growth in 2026 is what they said. So, that's very contrary to the whole AI super cycle of growth that we are forecasting as market investors right now. I want to double click back into the topic we talked about on Monday's stream of Apple. We actually posted a short about it this morning. If you missed our segment on it, you could get a glimpse of it very quickly, available on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. But it was about their lack of innovation and growth. And an interesting idea, which I had never heard talked about today, was the fact that people are starting, share buybacks have been looked at as so positively for companies in the past several years. Maybe Apple should consider ending their buyback program or just severely diminishing it and instead focus that money on either acquiring one of these AI startups like Perplexity, or just focus on investing in their own AI team and capabilities. So I'm wondering if George will think that would be bullish or bearish for Apple, and just the fact that our share buybacks, out of fashion or about to be out of fashion. A lot of companies have driven their stocks, it seems like, with upping their share buybacks in recent years. But have we hit the peak of that? Then I'm going to ask George which of the following companies he thinks can be $1 trillion market cap first. And a lot of the companies I want to put on the list are the ones that have been the high flyers and looking very bullish in the Prospero signals. Palantir, Robinhood, Coinbase, AMD, MSTR, and AppLovin are the stocks I have on the list right now. If you're thinking in your head, oh, I have a good stock that should be on that list as well, comment it right now, and I'll add it, and we'll put it on the list, and we'll ask George about it later on. But I have a few follow-ups for that list as well. Like, does he think any of those companies can't ever reach a trillion, or and why, if that's the case? And not just the first one, but like a little bit more in depth on each. And then bringing up that Palantir has just surpassed Bank of America in market cap, even though its earnings are quite small comparatively. And what does that tell us about how investors are feeling about the future potential of these companies, that they're willing to value them similarly in market cap with such differences in the actual earnings for their businesses of the current day? Then I want to circle back to AI and ask George, will this decade of the 2020s be the final decade where humans have a majority control of, the things that are happening in the world in terms of manufacturing, business, stock market, basically the whole economy? Like, does he think AI will account for 51% or more of what's happening in the world, starting and then continuing to build throughout the 2030s? There was a concept I just heard about called UBE. A lot of people probably know UBI, Universal Basic Income, but UBE is Universal Basic Everything. So I guess that would be like the best outcome of AI down the road if that were to happen. So does George think that will be the case? Hello, George. Then we're going to discuss what is the best gaming stock on the market today as Roblox shares continue their surge. We've also seen a lot of strength for Take-Two, which is going to be releasing GTA 6 soon. And then another of the big ones is EA. So those three we'll be taking a look at. And then last but not least, it's been a few streams since we talked about the quantum sector. RGTI is a stock making a massive move today, up 30%. Is it leapfrogging into a leading position of that quantum sector? We've covered IonQ a lot and some others. So we'll talk about RGTI just a bit later on and see if it's in one of the leading positions there. But first, to start today, let me look at the QQQ and SPY net option sentiment as we begin the stream, and then we'll cover some of the more macro topics. Okay, so QQQ is at 52 right now in net option sentiment, and SPY is at 6. So SPY, nothing really changed much there. SPY continuing in the single digits, QQQ looking more bullish. We've gotten a lot of data since we streamed last about inflation. So CPI came in at 0.3%, and the markets reacted, I would say, slightly to maybe moderately negative yesterday because of that. 12-month CPI now sits at 2.7%, so remaining above the 2% target that has been set by the Fed. And I think the 12-month inflation went up for 2 months in a row now. But then PPI came in flat today, so no inflation there. How are you feeling after we got the inflation reports? And then some of even the banks, we had mixed reactions. So anything new in your mind, George, in the macro or in the economy and inflation-wise that you think will move the markets much in the coming days, weeks?
Well, we've seen some interesting stuff today. A lot of interesting stuff. But I'd say in order of what's interesting, the first thing is looking at the reaction to the Powell firing news, right? Previously, we've seen like Powell firing news rally the market because we were expecting, because they were expecting rate cuts for whoever replaced him. Today, we actually saw a negative reaction. And to me, that says everything about, the expectations of where we're at, that the market is performing, very healthy without rate cuts, and that cutting rates too far before we have, inflation under control with other inflationary pressures, like the amount of money that's going to need to be printed for the big, beautiful bill. The market telling us that we could see too much rate cutting is a very, very interesting shift that I do not think can be downplayed because we might get that shift. So I'd say that that's the most interesting thing today. And I do think, the Trump administration floats these trial balloons. And I think they very quickly said after, because Republican congressmen reported that Trump said he was going to fire him. This wasn't like the media, taking hold of like a private source, or I don't know how specifically sourced it was. But very quickly, Trump said he wasn't going to fire him, or I think Bessent said it, or I'm not sure the exact specifics. But I do think the very quick transfer from the trial balloon, like, hey, this might happen, let's see the market reaction, to the pullback, is an interesting change. Because we've seen, even very recently, talk of Powell getting fired being a bull signal. So I think that's the first interesting thing. I also think that the way some of these financials have reacted is getting me a little more concerned that we might be near the top, right? Goldman, I thought, is in our portfolio right now. The signals look great. They reported great earnings, right? They reported, I think, record equity earnings right? So it's like, okay, it's like not just, the market's only up 7% this year, right? That's good. That's not necessarily like world beating. There's definitely been much better markets for Goldman to report those record earnings. So I think the way that some of this, reaction to some of these earnings, some of these financial stocks gets me a little bit more concerned that we might be heading towards a correction. I think we have an ASML story coming, so I don't want to tease that. But yeah, I think this Powell firing, is interesting, just because it's definitely a change that Wall Street might be getting concerned about the long-term impacts of, a Trump administration that is doing a lot to push the economy forward in the short term, whether it be, spending, tax cuts, some of this stuff I think is starting to become concerning on the long term to Wall Street. And that's the only reason you'd have that reaction, because more rate cuts no doubt will help, or objectively should help the market. If they don't, it's because the market is pricing in more long-term concern around those cuts.
I see Jonathan with a comment about Roblox, but we will be discussing Roblox in detail in just a bit. So I want to move to Ori's question about the alerts and emails from Substack. She's asking, how are they connected to the app, and just a little bit of info on them. She said she's a bit new to Prospero.
So are you talking about the alerts and emails? So the alerts, the only alert we send out in the app is a screener. And so that's just like what I think is the best, thing to look at in a given day. There's our picks, and those are the same formulas every day. And then the screener is just one I make myself and send out, right? That's thing one. The alerts, a lot of the times I'm doing the same alerts in only investing and trading letters. Sometimes they're different. It's just going to be different sizing based on the size of the portfolio. Obviously, the primary difference if you get the trading letter is that you get a lot more daily updates, daily portfolio ideas, a lot more well-rounded. But the actual in-day moves are going to be very similar in terms of emails for the investing and trading letters. And that's just what, sometimes I do it more than others in a fast-moving market like today. I did it more. That's just how I'm viewing as the best way to capitalize on market moves, balance the different trading or investing portfolio based on what's going on currently.
Question from MB09ish. Curious about your thoughts on Oscar. Fundamentals seem good. A lot of discrepancies with Euphoria and Grim on social media, though.
Oscar has not been looking good, but let's get a current. Yeah, not good net option sentiment. All the way down to 43, and it was 47 at noon. That is not a good graph. If you ever want to see a not good social sentiment at 7, but fundamentals seem good, right? This is where Prospero is really helpful. Like, I don't really know that much about Oscar as a company, but I do know they have a 44 profitability out of 100 and a 13 growth out of 100. So I would say those fundamentals are not good. The upside is higher than the downside. So that means overall, I think institutions have more faith in it doing well than not doing well in the long term. But I don't see good, good value, good picture overall right now with Oscar. But that upside downside says if you're holding it and you believe in it, it's not necessarily a terrible thing to hold long term. I just don't think there's good opportunity in it right now.
And another comment on YouTube from Jill. Do you trade on some of this news or wait until the signals change? So I guess circling back to that Jerome Powell headline, like if you catch wind of that on the news, do you instantly react or do you look how the signals are moving first?
So almost always the signals. I don't trade just on the news. If it's something that is just like catastrophic or very bullish, I won't wait for the signals to update. But for example, today I was already positioned even before the Jerome Powell news broke. I saw SPY net option sentiment open at 8 and I saw it go to 1. And that's when I started adding more short positions, closing out my VRT. So it wasn't actually the news. It was actually the SPY net option sentiment that I actually started making moves this morning before the news.
And you brought up ASML before. The shares were down as much as 11% today after the company said that they cannot confirm that they will grow in 2026. And when I heard this, my world was rocked a bit because like you're thinking, oh, one of the bigger chip companies in this AI super cycle, like growth should be easy to come by. So when they said this, it was a little bit shocking. And obviously the stock is reacting. How concerned are you for like the whole chip space, NVIDIA, AMD, others, Avgo? I think you've said before that ASML is one of the unique ones that they're headquartered in Europe, I believe. So maybe there's a difference there with tariffs and stuff, I think plays a role. But does this question the AI and chip growth for 2026 that we were pricing in, it seemed?
Let's go to my old friend Perplexity. And there's one thing I'm curious about. I'm curious how much ASML sells to China. Because it's very possible this NVIDIA news is a big factor in why they're saying that. And they say they can't forecast because it's an odd thing to say you're not sure if you'll grow versus just forecasting numbers, right? That's what makes me be like, well, does this have something to do with China and them not really knowing where the orders come in? And I'm going to ask Perplexity, what percent of ASML's business it comes from China? All right, let's see. See? Sometimes your instincts are right when you hear stuff like that. 41% of ASML's business in 2024 came from China. So that's probably where we're at, right? They probably do not know how much, changed policy from the US. Obviously, it's softening. We already saw it softening, when Trump allowed, removed chip restrictions from other Asian nations. Obviously, you have the H-20s that have been changed. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a legit concern when 41% of their business comes from there. And, that's something that I think is always very important for people to kind of try to be able to map in their heads, be like, okay, I need to make sense of this situation, right? I didn't know anything. I didn't research that before. You saw me look at it live, right? But to me, that's one of the main things that can have you become a better investor. When you can take a piece of information like that and figure out why it is on your own, grab your own reasonings, just create a wider map of the interconnected things between companies and geopolitics and things like that. But that seems like a very appropriate reaction because, like I'm saying, they didn't say, "Hey, we're expecting a very specific revenue number next year." They're basically saying we don't know, and that's very scary. And at the same time, it makes sense that they don't know because they don't know if the U.S. policy towards China and sales could soften even more and interfere with their business there even more.
Well, that's an interesting thing you brought up there because that's not how I was thinking about it at all. But it sounds like the ASML bearishness is actually a bull story for American chip stocks because it's from them taking their business essentially. especially Nvidia.
And that's what we're seeing today, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Um,
we got a few
yeah,
comments.
yeah. I mean, thanks everyone. This is like, I feel like this is one of our best comment days ever. We're not even getting to the topics.
Yeah, this is good. So I see from Ori is asking about Palantir, which we're going to discuss in a moment. So I'll skip that one for now. Ori, just stick around for a second. Uh, Fair appreciating. I have a strong bull case for it long term, so it'll be an interesting educational experience. I think talking about ASML, I believe, MB, and then also for Google yesterday, it was listed as a long term buy. Today, it's not listed as a long term buy. Net option still strong. Does it remain a long term buy even though it's not on a long term buy list today?
Let's see what's going on there. Let's do the Google. I was looking in long-term bear. Meta. I want to see.
Google's on the short term bull list right now.
So there is some information on that says why things are long-term buys, or it gives some vague information. But the basic formula for that is like, it's not me making that determination or anything like that. It's just upside plus probability, like plus profitability minus downside. And then there's things in short pressure and dark pool to mitigate that, but I'm not seeing higher dark pool. So it's one of two things. It's either I'm looking at its signals, downside's going up a bit. So it could be that downside's going up a bit. It could be that other stocks are just getting higher upside and lower downside and just displaced it. There could be new analyst forecasts that are lowering its profitability. But yeah, it's not like, it's a long-term signal, right? If you saw it on long-term bulls yesterday, like, it doesn't mean that you need to sell it now. One thing that I think is actually very helpful is we did a back test. Our most in-depth back test we've ever done was on upside. And in a 5-year back test for stocks that had above 80 upside, all of those stocks we held for a year and compared to the S&P 500. For those basket of stocks, it was generally between 10 and 50 stocks that had 80 or above upside, held for a year. 80% of the days, that basket of stocks outperformed the S&P 500. That is all to say, if you have something above 80, it's generally a good 1-year hold, right? You might want to be careful if there's things like high short pressure, high dark pool, that add to the risk of it, or the other signals of net option sentiment is low. You might want to manage risk around that. But generally, unless there's been some catastrophic news events, if something was in a long-term bull yesterday, it probably just fell off. And you probably don't need to worry that much about it. But I'll do something special for you right here too. I'm going to grab the metrics right now and tell you where it currently ranks, so we can get like a detailed thing here. I'm just going to do upside minus downside plus profitability, and we will get a nice little list here and see where Google is today. All right. Okay. Oh, wow, that's interesting. I could look more into this. But Google is now the 31st ranked stock there. Now, some of them are filtered out for other reasons, like high dark pool. But yeah, Google at 129, upside minus downside plus profitability, just isn't quite there. Now, you said yesterday. Let me pull yesterday morning and we'll check on this again. And we'll see what is up with that. Because this is good for people to learn how it works.
In our app, it always shows the top 10, right? It won't just like, if there's like 20 stocks that are always looking bullish, it won't just show like new stocks just to show them, right? It's like always the top 10.
Always the top 10. All right, so we're going to look at open. Let's take a look. All right, grabbing profitability because I'm interested here to see what where it moved.
I'm interested too because I saw some stuff today about Google releasing like new Gemini updates, and some people were pretty pumped about it. So interesting.
Yeah, I'm seeing it might have been. It's looking unlikely. It was 34 yesterday. So it might have been the short-term picks because I'm not seeing anything there that would explain it. But regardless, it still looks like a good long-term pick.
Might have been the day before it said MB for the last few days. Yeah, it could have been the short-term bullish too.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's still there right now on the short-term bullish today. So he said this is really helpful in understanding the app.
Awesome.
Glad it's helping you. All right. I want to get to a fun topic now. We'll move this one up for Ori, who's asking about Palantir. I'm going to give you a list of stocks, George, and I want you to pick which of these stocks is going to hit $1 trillion first. So Palantir is the first one on the list, and they have a bit of a lead here because they are the biggest company on the list, about $350 billion market cap. And then there's AMD at $250 billion. And then the rest are more close to the $100 billion range. Robinhood, Coinbase, MSTR, and AppLovin. So which do you think will hit $1 trillion first? And then do you think any of those companies will never hit $1 trillion?
No, I think the way the markets are growing, they'll all hit $1 trillion. I think Palantir is the favorite. You gotta like we've gone over it ad nauseum. You gotta love everything that they're doing. But I think nipping at their heels, like I actually think the only one that could do it is Coinbase, right? I really think they might make it a close call, but Palantir is just growing so fast. I love Coinbase's business and their earning potential. And like, I think there's just going to be so much crypto adoption more and more. And they just have like the easiest to use product. I think it's going to be Palantir, but I think Coinbase might give them a run for their money.
That's an interesting for people. Coinbase is at 104 billion market cap right now. So that would be a 10x. So it'd be way more impressive for them to do it than Palantir, which would be a triple. And I don't know, what's the biggest finance stock right now? JP Morgan? Are they the biggest? Or maybe BlackRock? Let me look at JP Morgan's market cap. JP Morgan.
Oh, I realized we missed Jonathan's question here earlier in the question thing. And no, I'm not surprised Roblox has it. I've been like considering, it's in the trading portfolio. I've been considering adding it. but I don't necessarily want to go overweight communications. But I probably should have. I really missed the boat on it. It's looked great. Like it has been great in Prospero's signals. And I just, it might not be too late. I'm going to keep my eye on it, but I think it's a very strong stock. I'm not surprised to see it.
So I found JP Morgan. They have about an $800 billion market cap. Interesting question there. Do you think Coinbase can be bigger than JP Morgan one day? Do you think the crypto industry is going to outgrow as the future of finance truly versus like these legacy positioners that have the huge market caps at the current moment?
Maybe. I mean, I think that's a good question. I mean, I think Robinhood, I think we talk about adoption of retail investors all the time. I think Robinhood is in a great position to capitalize on all of it. And I just think it's not just crypto. I think longer term, whoever is in best position to adopt the blockchain and really leverage it, I think is going to do, way better. Lean structures, open source structures, blockchain. Those aren't traditional bank things, but those are going to be the winners, I believe, long term.
It's funny. Kyle James said good call on Rocket Lab, and I almost wanted to add like ASTS, Rocket Lab, like Oklo, all these like super future ones to that list, but I was like, nah, they're just too small to be on that list. But I see also SaaSpox is asking, is it still a good time to get into Palantir then? And another stat I wanted to share about Palantir, posted by the Long Investor on Twitter, they just surpassed Bank of America in market cap, while Palantir has earnings of about 570 million, and Bank of America has earnings of 26 billion. And when I saw it, I was just like, wow, that really puts into perspective like the massive amount of growth that Palantir is expected to have by people who are buying it at the price it is at today. But so Saucepot's question, would you recommend if someone hasn't owned Palantir yet to like, is now a good time, or would you wait for a pullback? How do you feel about that?
I would get in, but I would have a tight stop loss, trailing stop loss, I think is just smart. Like, cause we are in a market, like I am a little worried that we're going to get a correction, but I've been worried and I'm not going to sit on the side. Like, I think I've been a little too worried. And I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. I got a lot of risk in my portfolio right now. Like, having NVIDIA and AMD, Rocket Lab, Palantir, Hood, App, that's a lot of growth, a lot of risk, a lot of companies that like by traditional metrics are overvalued, right? But I don't think we're doing value anymore, right? And I was talking about this earlier. Like, I think retail, 25% of the trades, we talked about this, that's another big step forward for them. And it's not just that. When institutions know retail is going to be moving the market, they play more momentum stuff, and then momentum stuff has more value, right? So I think momentum's leading the market right now, and momentum, Palantir is, one of the best stocks. And we talk about it because it's got this huge potential. It's got this alignment with the current administration and spending from the big, beautiful bill. And then it is one of the only growth stocks that will do well and has done well when we see military tensions flare up, which could happen, right? We've seen it happen. That's been actually in this nice run that we've had, the only, I would actually say, military tensions are hurting it more than, tariff news, which the market seems to be shrugging off now. Because I think people expect tariff news to die down quickly or to be backed off of or deals to be made. And people are a little more uncertain around, military tensions. So Palantir, I think, is a must have in your portfolio right now. But I think I think you want to have it like anything with risk. I think if the market turns, Palantir could easily lose 20-25% in a few days. So, set 5, set 7.5 stop loss so you can capture the gain, and you're limiting your downside.
And I wanted to bring up the discussion we had about Apple a bit on Monday, because I saw an interesting thought experiment of the fact that Apple is kind of like the king of share buybacks. And for any company that had share buybacks, they've been praised basically by the market. The more, the better. Have we hit a point where Apple has too much share buybacks and they're actually hurting their ability to innovate, which is stuff you've said before? And would the market react positively if Apple said we're going to lower our share buyback and use that money to invest in AI or acquire a cutting edge company like Perplexity or others in the space? Would the market react positively to a lower share buyback for them?
Well, let's be clear, right? They should absolutely, if they could acquire Perplexity, like they should do that yesterday. And there's pretty much like almost no price that, like, if you told me they paid $100 billion, I'd be like, yeah, they need to make a move like that. Might be a little expensive, but they need to mix it up, right? I don't know if Perplexity would sell. I don't know if they'd sell it to them. But that's exactly the type of move that they have to be making. But I want to talk about share buyback for a second. You touched on, I think, the important part of it, but I think you also missed a part of it. Like, part of the reason that the market responds well to share buybacks is because people think that a company knows what it should be worth and its earnings and anything more than anyone else, right? So the general idea is, if you're doing share buybacks, it means that you know that the stock is undervalued and it's going to go up, right? That hasn't necessarily been true for Apple. They're kind of losing credibility. And at a certain point, when you're just like buying shares back as a habit, it doesn't necessarily look like they're buying shares because they expect the stock to be of value or the stock to go up. It's just a habit, right? At a certain point, they got tons of cash, right? And we talked about this in earlier in the week, right? How they're not really innovating and they've kind of like given up on innovation, and because things like the car and the VR headset, haven't really worked out for them. But you can't give up on innovating. You've got to innovate, and if you can't innovate, right, you acquire, right? Before recently, Meta, I wouldn't say has been that great at innovation. Now, I mean, they're getting better. A very late stage, they had some good original innovations and then they had a bit of a slump, right? But you don't have to innovate if you're able to buy Instagram, if you're able to buy WhatsApp, right? Then you let them innovate for you, right? Apple should be able, to do that. And, you look at something like the deal between OpenAI and Johnny Ive, right? Johnny Ive, former, Apple star, right? Like, if OpenAI thought what he was working on in an interface was valuable enough, like, why didn't Apple think it was that valuable? Could they get an inside track on that deal? I imagine. So that's when you're just like, they're asleep at the wheel, in my opinion.
So it'll be interesting to see, because I feel like it's becoming talked about more so and more so, and there's some pressure being put on Apple. MB is asking about any future updates for the app that you want to share with our viewers. What's on the docket for the Prospero app? Anything coming up?
I mean, the major thing is we have our alerts release around our crowdfund coming in. We've been our crowdfund. It's a lot of work to get a crowdfund online. But we're almost to the end. I think by the end of the month, we'll have it online. And our main goal is just get alerts out there. But more positions, I can talk to our CTO about that. That's something that might be relatively easy. That's not a bad idea. But we're really just focused on the alerts, and there's other features after that. Getting things like momentum score, like we have in our trading letter in the app, is a high priority. But yeah, the alerts I think are going to be very helpful for people, and that's our main focus.
Okay, so I have this topic about the gaming stocks, but I feel like the choice is easy now after we Jonathan shared the upside and net option sentiment for Roblox. But I was going to ask you, which one would you buy today if you were to invest in one of the three? Roblox, Take Two, which has GTA 6 coming out, or EA. Um, Take Two stock has been very strong, and we highlighted it a while back now. So hopefully people acted on that, because that's been one of like the least volatile, just like upward moving stocks, I feel like, for a while now, even with GTA being delayed. But I don't know. Can anything compete with those Roblox signals?
I think no. I just think Roblox is hands down the best of those things. I mean, it's doing a great job. I mean, it's kind of like just as much like a cultural thing as it is a game, which is hard to do.
Is Roblox like a metaverse play? Do you think that's still a thing at this point? Do investors or the business world like think that's going to happen one day still, and they could be a leading positioner there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like we talk about that sometimes with Meta, right? That's the smart way to do it, right? It's not just like expecting to sell like real estate in the metaverse before anybody's even there. It's like, good product is moving people along towards that. And it's already like a virtual space for people to interact with. It's not that much of a leap for them to get there.
It's funny. I feel like Take Two with GTA, that's like the adult metaverse, versus Roblox is like the child's metaverse. So maybe they should combine the businesses, and then they'll have the whole metaverse together.
That would be like that would be pretty fun.
You don't want to have those two mixing though, so maybe it's better separate.
Yeah, definitely don't want those two mixing.
Okay. Last stock we have on the docket today, we got to get to the model portfolio. So RGTI up 30% today, a bit of a short squeeze perhaps going on, but we've covered the quantum space, and I feel like IonQ has been the big leader so far amongst those stocks in the signals and performance-wise. Could RGTI perhaps leapfrog with the performance we're seeing today into a leading position there in the quantum stocks? There's a bunch now that are on the markets, but how do you feel about RGTI?
Yeah, I feel dumb. I saw RGTI and momentum score a few days ago, and I kind of shrugged it off. But for a small cap stock, it looks excellent in our signals. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm feeling like, it might be late. I don't know if I want to get in now, but definitely something to keep an eye on for sure.
Maybe Apple should skip AI and move on to quantum computing and scoop these stocks up.
Maybe.
Not a bad idea, right?
Yeah.
All right. We got to switch over to the model portfolio. Everybody stick around with us. Thank you to all 2,000 of you, more now, that have joined the stream today. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the topics so far. If you're new, what we're about to do, which we haven't done in a little bit because George was on the road for a couple weeks, but we do the model portfolio updates at the end of the stream. So George will look at all the signals now, update our model portfolio, which has had very good performance. We just posted a 6-month review on Twitter. If you guys haven't seen that, definitely give it a like, give it a look-see. I believe we beat the market by over 80% so far year to date on an annualized basis. So very good performance, all using the Prospero signals. And this is a paid newsletter, but you get to see it for free on the stream. So that's why you stick around to the end, right? We get a little free alpha for you all. Okay. Let me check back in on the net option sentiment for QQQ and the SPY. Thank you all for commenting today. So many questions. That was great to see. George said it as well, but very cool to see the streams getting a lot of activity. So thank you all for being here. Okay, let me look at the SPY and QQQ net options sentiment. Okay, I currently see 52 for QQQ, so no movement there. Same as the beginning of the stream, but the SPY is at 4, which I believe is even slightly lower than the beginning of the stream, right? Where were we at? Like 6 before or something? So SPY is feeling gloomy in that option sentiment, although the QQQ is still in the bull zone. So we will have to see how George decides to maneuver the markets today with the headlines that we were covering and the signals that we are seeing. If anybody has any stocks you want George to take a peek at when he's looking at the signals, feel free to continue the comments in the chat. We'll be happy to look at anything. Let me scan the markets. We didn't cover crypto at all today. Let's see if Bitcoin is up or down on the day. Okay, so Bitcoin is up today at 119,000.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We got you. So I looked back at QQQ and SPY. QQQ unchanged from the beginning of the stream at 52. SPY is at 4.
That's exactly where it was yesterday.
Yeah, so not much change in the signals. Not much at all. Jonathan just commented, are you planning on doing a massive import into Prospero for any stocks that are currently not in Prospero?
Yeah, like I've been one of our engineers has been out, but we've been like trying to get like an easier way to add tickers online. Maybe I can ask for just another batch job, but yeah, drop them in our Discord if you want it, and like that's always the best way. I apologize for being behind on that.
I know you're not feeling that bullish about the China stock shorts, but BABA currently at the top of our short-term bull list.
Really?
Any change in your mindset?
I don't know. Here we go. Sharing my screen. All right, let's do this. I think it's been a while since we've done this live. What's going on with healthcare today? I skipped. Small caps doing well today is interesting.
I feel like there's been a few days recently when the markets are green that the Russell is the best performing. A little bit of a catch-up. Actually, the Russell is now in the green on the year by 0.02%. Oh, now it's back in the red.
All right, so let's look for the model portfolio. Let's.
MB is wanting the Canadian oil and gas stocks, i.e. TOU, Tourmaline Oil. Craig said, appreciate the app and info. Current thoughts on Tesla?
Let's see where Tesla is.
I think I saw a headline today that they're making some update with India. I think launching a new model car or something. Premium car.
I mean, Tesla has been at like 70 net option sentiment for a long time. Like, I think it could be time. Like, I'm a little uncomfortable with like what could happen like on an ongoing basis between Trump and Elon. But beyond that, I would just be if net option sentiment, like historically, we expect net option sentiment to be probably like at least at 80, if not 90, to be confident about that. So it's been at 70 for a while. I mean, long term, it looks great. So if you believe in it, upside says go for it by all means. But for me, especially in the high conviction portfolio, I'm much more interested. I'm much more interested in like waiting to see that net option sentiment go up a little more.
Claire is asking about uranium stocks. Do you have any interest in those, like UEC?
We added CCJ yesterday. You can see right here. I mean, I would if I saw anything come up on our screeners, I would add them. I think it's an interesting time. But yeah, we just added CCJ. So I mean, I think that's how we want to play that area for now. Okay. Oh, look at Oklo. I'll definitely be adding that since it's doing well on a day that utilities aren't doing well.
See Oklo rising, SMR also rising. I saw something like I think there's a $70 billion energy package or something that is helping the narrative for those companies.
All right, let's. Oh, damn it. Nice. I'm supposed to change these, but it's too late now. I'm not going back. All right, I need this. Actually, let's see where we're at on this before we make any big decisions. We exited that Dell already, so. I didn't realize we had all that KTB in here. What do we got here? 39, and this is 42. Yeah, we don't need to get out of those borderline ones. And then oh, we're actually all ready to go on this already. Okay. I don't. Mickey D's. All right, here we go. We're getting into RGTI.
Mickey D's is up there on Whopper Wednesday.
What?
I don't know what's happening today, but I heard some people talking about Whopper Wednesday. I guess Burger King's having a deal or something. But Mickey D's is the one with the bullishness.
Micron, that's interesting. I'm very interested in what's going on with that. TSM. No, I feel good about this. All right, that is done. This is that's done. Oops. Good day for us. NVIDIA, I don't think we're ready to get out of that. Maybe Goldman. Is KTB a win? KTB is a win. All right, we're going to get out of is Goldman a win? No. All right. Okay, so we're going to add a KTB. Here, let's send this. All right, and then we want to get out of KTB, form, and Paramount. And then I want to get back into two new ones. What's going on with Dix? Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, we're not doing SNA before earnings. Okay. All right, so we are getting out of form. Para. And KTB. And we're getting into MU, MKC. God damn it. Everybody complained to Substack. it won't let me do mobile updates, and it's especially if you're paying for this, it's very annoying.
The Substack app does need improving. If I change an account, it like kicks me completely out of the app and makes me like log in, get an email. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now they won't let me send messages, and I have to do it. Like now I have to send it to my computer. I have to send these screenshots to my computer to then. And it's annoying because it makes me look like I'm delaying sharing the trades, but I'm just dealing with their stupid system. Okay. Oh, I'm missing one. What am I missing? KTB. Oh no. Forum. Okay. It wasn't even letting me do this at times today. Oh, yeah, see? Look at this shitty product. There we go. See what it's putting me through?
Be careful, Substack. We can switch to Patreon.
What's the other one? Oh, damn it. I wanted to do ticks too. Well, we'll do this for now. And then we'll do one more. Let's see if it'll let me do. Ah, there we go. Just random let me do it on the phone now. Okay. This was a great stream, everybody.
Yes, it was awesome.
Thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, that was really cool. Hopefully you guys had a lot of fun in here, and you're going to come back Monday, 11 a.m., when we will be back live next week. Enjoy the rest of the investing and trading week, everybody. Thank you, George. I had a lot of fun on stream as well. And we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.